Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. Okay, that's going to be an everyday thing. I have to um grab a short from my live the second it's over and create it. I have to. It's just the rules. I don't make the rules. I'm just following them and it's working. So every day OJ is going to take a minute if you don't mind. It's important. But I've wasted enough of your time, so let's get busy. Man, I love to see how far we've gotten, but I wish I would have had this ready. Oh, Cato. We're almost at Cato, guys. Look how close we are. We are here. He's here. He could be here or here, though. All right. We don't know who's on the stand in these two. I did find out the glove is June. Oh, so we have a while to go for the glove. We're just gonna not worry about the glove for now. It's not until June.
Were there any written instructions given to the recruits who were searching?
I don't know that for sure. I wasn't there.
Let me approach with an exhibit that has been pulled. This appears to be a map of the area. Is that the area that you instructed others to search?
Yes, it's part of the area. Yes.
Part of it? The area
Yeah.
exceeded that?
No, I think the area would be a little smaller than this.
No. Is there any map that shows what area that you wanted searched? This was handed to me by Mr. Darden.
I think what happened is this would show the area that I wanted searched. I think what happened, or the way it was done, is the detectives, after we had asked for this to be done, had mapped out the possible routes between the two locations and had created groups of recruit officers that walked these certain areas. And I believe each group was given a map of the area that they were to search.
Company stuff stopped.
And I think that's in one of the books. I'm not positive of that.
Now, regarding the search for a knife, you were aware that Mr. Simpson flew to Chicago.
Yes.
Did you cause that airplane to be searched?
I believe it was searched, yes.
Is there any question in your mind as to whether it was searched or not?
Well, I know we had an investigation going on in Chicago. I know we had detectives back there doing searches. And there was an airplane storage facility that was checked because there was a broken knife found in it. But as far as the airplane he took, I don't know that. I believe it was cleaned after it got there anyway, so I don't think it was searched.
You don't think it was searched?
No, I don't think the plane that he flew on was searched.
Would you check? Did you make any notes on this?
No, I didn't.
Did you make any notes in this entire case?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you have those notes with you?
They're contained in the books.
Your personal notes?
Yes.
And you made notes all along from the 13th on?
Yes.
What notes did you take on the 13th? What did you record?
I wrote a search warrant and I started a partial statement of Cato Kalin.
Is a search warrant notes?
Yeah.
You consider those notes, okay?
Well, it was part of the investigation that I wrote a search warrant on.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's part of your notes. And then you had notes on a statement with Cato Kalin?
Yes.
What other notes did you take on the 13th?
I think the only other thing I did was a part of the chronological of the case.
Part of the chronological record?
Yes.
And that's about the only notes you've taken in this whole case, isn't it?
Well, I've written a lot of statements.
I'm talking about notes, sir.
Yeah, that's correct.
Did you write a report in this case?
Yes.
How long is it?
The follow-up report, or which report?
How many reports did you write in this case?
Well, I made the death report. I made the crime reports for both victims. I assisted my partner with the follow-up report. And I've written several, I don't know how many, but a lot of statements in this case.
Okay. I'd ask you at the noon recess to pull everything you've written and provide us with all your notes, if you wouldn't mind.
Objection.
Well, we'll take that up later.
In Chicago, well, you indicated that there was a search of some type of trash that revealed a broken knife.
No, I think it was a holding tank on an airplane that was found by airline employees.
Do you recall reviewing a report that said that there was a container that had all the refuge for a month from all the planes that were flown by the airlines that transported Mr. Simpson, of all the refuge, and that was all searched?
That was a possibility, yeah.
Well, do you recall that being done?
I said that was a possibility. I I had detectives back there doing the work.
Wait, you read that report, didn't you?
I probably have, yes.
And in that, they found a broken piece of a knife
I believe that's right, yes.
that was not related to this case, correct?
I don't believe it's related.
That was a pretty thorough way of searching, wasn't it?
Pardon me?
That was a thorough search, wasn't it?
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, it's vague.
Did you consider that to be a thorough search of the trash?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What other searches took place in Chicago?
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis.
Hearsay.
Overruled.
There were several searches conducted by Detective Looper and Detective LaFall.
Tell us about those.
I wasn't there. I can't tell you about them.
You've read reports about those, and they're part of your investigation, aren't they?
I've read notes on them, yes.
Things you've reviewed.
Yes.
What is your understanding of what took place?
Sustained.
Were those thorough searches?
Sustained. Calling for speculation. He wasn't there.
Did you direct that there be thorough searches of areas in Chicago where Mr. Simpson might have visited?
I don't think I was aware of areas that he may have visited other than the hotel.
Well, that's one area. Did you ask that a search be conducted of the hotel?
A search was conducted at the hotel.
Did you ask that a search be conducted of any surrounding areas of the hotel?
No, I was not aware of that. That was done without my direction.
So you are aware that a search was done of surrounding areas, but
Yes.
not at your direction.
Well, it was done as part of the investigation of the detectives that were there.
You didn't think that was necessary?
No, sir, I was not aware of it. I wasn't there. I didn't know what was going on in Chicago.
No, you wanted to know, didn't you? You wanted to be informed of what was going on in Chicago, I take it.
I was informed after it was over with, yes.
And you were informed that a search of the area and lots adjacent to the hotel were thoroughly searched, were you not?
Yes.
Sustained. Hearsay. Disregard that. That's hearsay, Mr. Shapiro. Proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And in conjunction with all these searches for the knives that you've told us about, would you say a equal search was done for bloody clothing?
That was part of the reason for searching, yes.
And has any bloody clothing that relates to this case ever been found?
Yes.
Other than what you found in your search of the Rockingham house, was there anything found as a result of this search
No.
relating to bloody clothing?
No.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Have you had enough resources to look for bloody clothing?
The same resources that I had to look for the murder weapon.
When you got your call at about 3 o'clock, you were at home
That's correct, yes.
on June the 12th, June 13th,
June 13th,
early morning
yes.
of June 13th. What area do you reside in? I don't want to know specifically, but what general area?
Objection, development, Your Honor.
Sustained.
How long did it take you to get from where you were to the Bundy location?
Approximately 40, 45 minutes.
Did you shower before you came, shave before you came, or just get up and come?
I showered and shaved.
Did anyone give you directions to get to Bundy, or did you know how to get there?
I was given directions by detective headquarters on the radio.
Are you familiar, as a detective in West Los Angeles, you worked there for 3 years, is that correct?
Yes,
And part of the requirements of a detective is to become familiar with the area that you're working, isn't that correct?
well, I think that's for any police officer, yes.
And that applied to you also.
Well, I was not a patrol officer there, so a lot of areas of West LA I was never in.
You wouldn't say San Vicente is a main thoroughfare that you
San
were
Vicente is well known.
that you were aware of,
Yes, sir.
and Bundy is a major street that you were aware of.
Yes, sir.
So when somebody said it's near San Vicente and Bundy, and here's the address, you were able to find that without getting specific instructions from your home, isn't that correct?
Well, yes, I could, but I asked for directions before I got there because I didn't know whether it was north or south of Wilshire Boulevard. They just gave me a street address.
So you wanted location, but you knew the general area,
I knew the general area, yes.
and it wasn't difficult for you to find.
No, sir, it wasn't.
You found it with virtually no trouble.
That's correct.
When you got that call, you were told that you were going to be taking over the investigation of the death of Nicole Brown Simpson. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you issue any orders immediately upon receiving that call as to what people should do who were presently at the scene?
No, sir, I didn't.
And you were told there were already officers at the scene.
Yes,
And you're aware that time is of the essence in a homicide investigation, are you not?
as a general statement, yes.
And that the more time goes by, the greater chance of contamination of evidence or destruction of evidence. Isn't that correct?
No, I wouldn't say that's a total correct statement. It depends on the evidence. And normally when you talk about the more time that goes by is you're talking about a cold trail.
Yeah. You know there are general rules to follow in a homicide investigation.
Absolutely, yes.
And you were chosen because you are one of the most senior homicide investigators. Isn't that correct?
No, I was chosen because I was on call that weekend. That happened to be my on-call weekend.
Well, isn't your unit a specialized unit, sir?
Yes.
And isn't that the unit that handles all the special cases of homicide?
Most of the time, yes.
And aren't you one of the most senior members of that unit?
Yes.
And immediately upon getting that call, it was time for action, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was time to prepare myself and respond, yes.
But there were things that had to be done because you knew you were an hour away, didn't you?
That's correct.
So there were things that had to be done immediately to make sure that that crime scene was protected. Isn't that correct?
Well, it's been my experience in 26 years that the crime scenes are protected by uniform that arrives there before anybody.
But you are going to have responsibility and you want it done your way, don't you?
When I get there, yes.
You don't want to rely on somebody else's judgment in doing something, do you?
Well, I have to do that every day, sir.
Well, didn't you tell us, even regarding Detective Furman, that you wouldn't rely on what he was doing?
Not after I'm there, but I have to rely on people before I get there, definitely.
So it was not anything that you did to contact the people and say, at least seal the crime scene and make sure no one enters until I get there. Did you give that instruction?
No, I did not.
In your training as a police officer and homicide detective, you have learned that it's important to keep detailed notes of an investigation, have you not?
Yes,
And you've told us now that you have kept detailed notes in this case.
I didn't say that, no.
Have you kept detailed notes?
This was an unusual circumstance. Normally I would. This one I didn't have the chance to.
So your answer is,
No, I did not.
did you designate somebody, as you've been trained to do, to be a designated note taker?
Yes,
Who did you designate as a note taker?
the criminalist.
The criminalist.
That's correct.
And where in the Los Angeles Police Department manual does it say that the lead detective in a homicide case shall designate a criminalist as a note taker?
The criminalist in the homicide manual of the Los Angeles Police Department is once he's assigned a case, is the person that collects, preserves, notes, measures, and records where evidence is found and where evidence is recovered from.
Did you understand my question?
Yes, I did. And that's why the criminalist did it.
so you're saying that that is designated in the Los Angeles Police Department manual, that a lead investigator shall designate the criminalist as a note taker?
I didn't say shall. I said I could probably designate anybody that I wanted to. That morning I did the criminalist.
And is that what it says? That somebody other than a sworn LAPD trained personnel shall be designated as a note taker?
It doesn't say note taker. It says for collection, preservation, and taking of the evidence.
Didn't you tell us that the criminalist didn't get to Rockingham till 7 o'clock?
7:10.
Who was the note taker at Bundy?
My partner, ultimately.
Your partner?
Yes.
So you designated Detective Lang as the note taker?
No, I didn't designate him. He did that
designated
himself.
He volunteered for that job. So he took the notes at Bundy.
Yes.
And did he take the notes at Rockingham up until 7 o'clock?
No.
Who took the notes up at Rockingham up until 7 o'clock?
No one.
That's a violation of department procedure, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't say it is.
Now, many times, the purpose of taking notes, detailed notes, in a criminal investigation is many times these investigations take a long period of time, do they not?
Yes, that's correct.
And many times, cases that are filed don't come to trial for years. Isn't that correct?
For years?
Yeah.
I guess you could say 1 or 2 years. Yeah, that's a fair statement.
And it'd be very hard with all the material that you've had to digest in this case to remember all the important details, wouldn't it, without notes?
It's according to what details you're talking about. I remember this case very, very well.
So you took it upon yourself just not to take notes at Rockingham.
No, that wasn't the situation at all.
When you got to Bundy and arrived there at 4:05, I believe you told us, in the morning, you were now in charge of the situation for 1 hour. Is that correct?
From 3 o'clock until 4:05?
When you got the notification, it was your case, wasn't it, at 3 o'clock?
I guess you could hypothetically say that, yes.
I don't want to guess. I want to know. I think the jury wants to know, more importantly. Whose case was it at 3 o'clock in the morning?
It wasn't my case until I arrived there and was instructed by my supervisor that we were taking the case.
So your case didn't begin until when?
Till 4:05.
Okay. Whose case was it from 3 o'clock to 4:05?
It was being secured for the arrival of Robbery Homicide Division.
Whose case was it from 3 o'clock to 4:05, sir?
Robbery Homicide Division.
That's you.
Yes, but I can't physically take charge until I'm on the scene.
So for at least an hour and 5 minutes, there is nobody in charge of the Bundy crime scene where two bloody murders have taken place?
That's not true.
Well, who was in charge?
West Los Angeles Division had security on the crime scene.
So they were in charge of the investigation at that time.
No, they were in charge of securing the crime scene at that time.
So what you're saying is for an hour and 5 minutes, nobody investigated Bundy,
That's correct.
when time is of the essence in a homicide investigation.
Boy, it would be a perfect world if I could have been there at 10:30. It would have been a perfect world.
How many members of the Los Angeles Police Department were there when you arrived?
Approximately 15.
All standing around,
That's correct, yes.
with two people who have had their throats slashed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Nobody is looking for any suspects?
I know why he's doing it, but the jury can't be that stupid to fall for this. I mean, there's no way the investigators could do their job if until they get to their job. I mean, there's no way that the jury can fall for this. There just isn't. Let me hide this idiot. Okay, there we go.
Well, I don't think that's a fair statement. I think a canvass was going on in the neighborhood. They were attempting to locate witnesses, attempting to elicit information that would help in the investigation up to that point.
You think or you know?
Well, I know it was going on.
What about beginning the crime scene investigation? That hour and 5 minutes, could important evidence become destroyed?
Sustained.
What could happen to evidence in your estimation in the period of an hour and 5 minutes in a case like this?
Sustained.
Do you have any experience in evidence degrading? Do you know what that term means, degrading of evidence?
Yes, I do.
What does it mean?
That's the quality of the evidence itself begins to deteriorate. That could happen immediately upon, for instance, blood evidence striking pavement. That could start immediately.
And would you agree, sir, that the longer you wait, the greater the chance is that there'll be deterioration of evidence?
Oh,
Again, I think that would depend on where the evidence was.
What about weather conditions? Could weather conditions move? Well, let me ask you this as a foundational question. Do you know the difference between gross evidence and trace evidence?
Mm-hmm.
What's
Yes.
Would you tell the jury, please? In case they
Trace
don't know.
evidence is
I know, gross lawyers.
hair fiber evidence of that type. Gross evidence is actually physical evidence like the glove or a murder weapon or clothing or what have you.
Is trace evidence limited to hair and fibers?
No.
Tell us what else trace evidence can encompass.
Trace evidence could encompass soil, could encompass minute or any article that it's not that can't be seen by the human eye. It could be attached to clothing, to a person, whatever.
And in your experience, trace evidence is potentially important evidence.
Very, yes.
And in your experience, trace evidence tends to degrade over time more quickly than gross evidence.
what's grounds?
Foundation.
Overruled.
I would say that's probably a fair statement. Yes, that it will degrade quicker than a hard piece of evidence.
And something as simple as a wave of the hand could remove trace evidence from a body of an individual, could it not?
Probably a movement of the air.
Overruled.
Probably a movement of the air could, yes.
Biological conditions naturally cause trace evidence to degrade, do they not?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the 24 by 24 rule?
No, that doesn't mean anything to me. What is that?
That's,
Wait a minute. Lawyers ask the questions.
are you familiar with a rule that says the 24 hours before death and the 24 hours after death are the crucial times for a homicide investigator?
For capturing the suspect, yes. Actually, I think it's 48-48 instead of 24-24.
And that's a rule you adhere to.
Yeah, as best I can, certainly.
And also for excluding the innocent.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of our basic functions.
That's what you really focus on, isn't it?
No, I focus on trying to find out what actually occurred, what the truth of the matter is.
And the more time that goes by, the greater chance that evidence will be destroyed, be eliminated, not be available, or be contaminated in some way. Isn't that correct?
Foundation.
It's also about the third time we've asked the question. Stay.
When you arrived, Detective Furman and Phillips were standing in the middle of the street,
Yes, they were at the intersection of Bundy and Dorothy.
and it was your opinion that at that location, what they were doing was securing the crime scene.
Is that a question?
Was that your opinion that they were securing the crime scene?
No, they were not securing the crime scene.
Were they preserving the integrity of the crime scene by standing up there?
No, they weren't.
What were they doing?
They were awaiting our arrival.
Were there things, as a trained homicide investigator, if you were relieved from a case, would you have some responsibility until your replacement showed up?
Yes,
What was that responsibility?
to attempt to elicit any witnesses in the area and maintain control of the crime scene until the handling detectives arrive.
So now the only two homicide detectives there, Detective Phillips and Detective Furman, are not trying to elicit testimony from anybody, are they?
That was being done by uniform.
I'm saying they were there. They weren't trying to do that as detectives, were they?
Elicit testimony?
Elicit statements from potential witnesses.
No, I believe they testified they stood in the street and waited for us.
And they weren't there preserving the integrity of the crime scene, were they?
No,
They were just passing the time.
they were waiting for us.
Had anybody notified them how long it would be until you got there?
I don't know.
So if you lived further away than 45 minutes or an hour and took 2 hours, they'd be standing in the street according to what you observed for 2 hours.
That's a good hypothetical situation. Yeah, I don't think I've ever taken 2 hours to report to a crime scene, though.
But there are detectives, you say, that probably live 2 hours away, don't they?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. It's irrelevant.
How many people had been inside the crime scene before you got there?
Call for hearsay.
Oh, well. Calls for speculation.
I'm sorry.
Calls for speculation.
Are there any records to indicate how many officers had been at the crime scene before you got there?
Had been at or in the crime scene.
At the crime scene.
Yeah, there's a log. Looks like there was a total of approximately 24 people at the crime scene before my arrival.
And it was important for you to determine whether any of those people had been in the general area of the crime scene. Is that correct?
Yeah, I made that determination.
And had any personnel been inside the general crime scene area?
Inside the tape,
Inside what you would describe, do you know what the general crime scene area is in police parlance?
yeah, that would be inside the security, the area that's secured.
Okay. Were any officers inside that area before your arrival, according to what you determined?
Yes,
How many?
I would say 6 or 7.
Are you familiar with a man by the name of William Bodziak?
Yes,
Is he one of the experts that have been employed by the prosecution in this case?
yes,
And he's a member of the FBI?
yes.
And is he one of the leading experts in the country on crime scene investigation?
I think his specialty is on shoes. I wouldn't say crime.
Oh my God, I forgot to say happy birthday in my stream. It's still Saturday for me. Sugar, that's a bad one. That was a bad one. All right, anybody still watching? Happy Father's Day. I will try. I'm going to try to get a special clip out for Father's Day today. I'll think of something before I go to work. Happy Father's Day, guys.
Scene investigation.
Footwear impression evidence?
Yes.
Have you read his books?
No, I have not.
Would you agree?
Premature at this point. Haven't heard the question.
Would you agree as a part of your education?
Pardon me, Your Honor.
Counsel, how can I tell the question, would you agree? How do I know what's coming? I'm saying it's premature until I hear the question, counsel. I can't guess what the question's going to be. Mr. Shapiro.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Would you agree as an expert in crime scene investigation that you should not allow anyone, including other law enforcement personnel, into the general crime scene area except when it is necessary to tend to victims?
What's the objection?
No, we're close.
What's the objection?
We can come close in front of the jury. I'd like to see the close.
Sustained.
Would you agree that a crime scene should be secured immediately?
Yes,
Is that the most important thing to do?
yes.
Is that the first rule of thumb for crime scene investigators?
That's normally not done.
No,
That's the first.
that's wrong. The very first thing to do is to make sure that the victims can be saved if possible and there are no other victims. That's the first thing to do.
Rule of thumb for uniformed officers, yes.
It should be done, but it's not done.
No. Normally, investigators are not the first on the scene.
Well-
It's been my experience in 26 years, the uniform is there first. They secure the crime scene and notify us.
Aren't police officers all trained personnel?
Trained in what, sir?
Well,
Of course, they're trained personnel.
Basic crime scene investigation?
Definitely,
Would that be
yes.
something elementary? That what happens if you arrive on a homicide scene, what to do?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's just common sense, isn't it?
Certainly is.
And would you agree that a crime scene should be sealed and no one should enter it except to tend to victims?
No one that's not involved in the investigation, yes.
No, no one should enter it except to tend to victims. You can disagree with that.
I do disagree
You
with that.
disagree with that. And you've told us you haven't read any books by experts in the field. Have you consulted experts in the field as to the proper procedures regarding entrance into a crime scene?
Have I consulted experts? I've met with many experts over 26 years, yes.
Is it
He's the expert. The man on the stand is the expert. He is the one people would consult for these answers.
very easy to disturb things within a crime scene?
Off the speculation.
Sustained. Today.
What are the dangers of entering a crime scene if you're not trained properly?
Chicken pox.
Destruction and contamination of evidence.
And when you're dealing now in the area of DNA, you're dealing with minute pieces of evidence, aren't you?
Ultimately, they're minute, yes.
Sometimes microscopic.
Yes, that's correct.
Sometimes they can't even be seen under a microscope.
I don't know. That's way out of my field of expertise. I really don't know that.
Didn't you learn about this in your continuing education?
Want to learn about doing testing on DNA?
Wait. You're arguing with the witness. He says some things you can't see. All right.
What is the importance of footwear impression evidence?
Correction made.
Sustained.
Are you familiar with the term footwear impression evidence?
Yes.
Have you ever read any books? Well, first of all, do you know if there are any books written on footwear impression evidence?
Well, I'm sure they are a collection of evidence, yes.
And that would be something that, to be a homicide investigator, you have to have a broad knowledge of lots of things, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, you have to understand basic
Oh, I could be a homicide investigator, guys. I have a broad knowledge of a bunch of things.
forensic pathology.
That's probably a fair term. Yeah.
You have to understand the basic workings of a criminalist.
Yes.
You have to understand fingerprint analysis, both latent and patent.
Yes.
You have to understand footwear impression evidence, both latent and patent.
Well, I'm not sure that you have to. You have to know what you're looking at, what you're seeing. Yes, that's why we have experts that assist us in these investigations.
And you direct the experts, don't you?
We point out the items. They do the collection. They do the comparisons and so on and so forth.
But
I don't do that.
You're the one who's walking by with a magnifying glass saying, "This is what I want to preserve."
Like Sherlock Holmes with the magnifying glass. No. Yeah, yes, I go into the crime scene to acclimate myself to the scene, to know what's there, so I can direct the criminalist when he gets there for the search for obvious evidence as well as latent evidence that may be there.
But you said two things that are interesting. The search to know what's there.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that are there are not apparent. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah,
And that's where your
definitely
expertise comes in. Isn't that true?
true. What are we talking about here? Fingerprints?
Things that are not apparent.
What?
Anything that may not be apparent to somebody who is not an expert detective like yourself.
I don't know what we're talking about. There's things that are not apparent here on this floor. What are we talking about?
Well, let's say you were investigating a crime scene and something happened here. Would you want to cordon off this area of the floor for any reason?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
For a examination by a criminalist, for trace evidence, for whatever may be there.
What about footwear impression evidence? Is that something that has been emerging in the last 5 years as becoming very important in crime scene investigation?
I think it's something that's been around for a long time, longer than 5 years.
When I say emerging, that there are recently developing new techniques to find latent footprints,
Yes.
to find footwear impression evidence.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I sure do.
That if somebody stepped on a carpet, that there are now techniques available to determine what shoe was used to step in that area, even though you can't see anything with the naked eye?
Well, I'm not sure about carpet. Normally, they lift those from hard surfaces, not porous surfaces like a carpet.
Have you read any materials in keeping up with the scientific literature on what impressions can be drawn from carpet?
Is there any carpet in this case?
Yes, in 2 locations.
Proceed.
No, I haven't.
This is the first time you've heard about that?
First time I've heard about what?
That you may be able to get very valuable evidence from carpet?
No, it's not the first time I've heard that.
So I take it any area that there was carpet in, nobody would be allowed to go in.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
If there was areas in a crime scene that had carpet, would you prevent people from going in there?
Well, I would prevent anybody that wasn't working the crime scene from going into the crime scene, yes. But to investigate a crime scene, you have to go into a crime scene to investigate it
But you have to go in carefully, don't you?
extremely carefully.
And you have to be aware of where potential evidence is.
Absolutely.
And if you're not aware of where potential evidence is, you could destroy potentially exculpatory evidence.
That's a possibility, yes.
And protective clothing is very important with the advancement of DNA collection of evidence, isn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Are you aware of what is recommended for collecting and preserving DNA evidence?
Overruled.
I don't do the collection and testing of it, so I would have to say no on that.
You're not aware of what should be done.
I just said no, I don't do the collection or the testing of it, so no, I'm not aware.
Well, before you get to collection of evidence, it can also be destroyed or contaminated by even somebody as expert as yourself going into that area. Isn't that true?
Oh, that's always a possibility, yes.
And for that purpose, it is recommended, is it not, that footwear protection be used before entering a bloody crime scene.
Objection.
Grounds.
Speculation.
Sustained.
Are you aware that professional standards require investigators to wear footwear covering when investigating sensitive areas where DNA evidence may appear?
Objection.
Grounds.
Any guess professional.
Sustained.
It's obvious, is it not, that if you walk in with dirty shoes that you may contaminate a crime scene. Isn't that true?
If you step in the evidence, yes, it is.
And if you had dirty shoes, that you may bring trace evidence from outside into the crime scene. Isn't that a possibility?
Again, if you step in the evidence, yes.
What if you walked into a crime scene, walked on a hair outside and walked in? Is there a chance that hair could be moved from outside inside?
Say that.
Oh, speculation.
Hold on. Say that again, please.
You walk up to a crime scene and there's a hair that you can't see on the sidewalk. Is there a chance that hair might stick to your shoe and then you carry it in and it can be discovered inside the crime scene?
Objection.
Speculation. Sustained.
What effort does it take to wear footwear coverings?
There wouldn't be much effort to it, I don't think.
Is there any reason not to?
No,
Is there any reason not to wear head coverings in a crime scene?
no,
Is there any reason not to wear coveralls or other protective clothing in a crime scene?
no,
Is there any reason not to wear gloves within a crime scene?
no,
Are these things that would be overly burdensome to do?
no.
When you went through your training at homicide school, wasn't one of the first things you were taught that when you enter a potential crime scene, don't pick up the phone?
Yeah, that's a basic rule, yes.
What's the reason for that rule?
Because you may have the telephone used by the suspect, you may have fingerprints on it, you may have trace evidence on it.
What about using any of the facilities within the crime scene? Turning water on or off?
That should not be done.
Putting out candles?
Nothing should be disturbed until the investigation is completed.
Did you determine whether any of those things were done in this case?
I found out later that the telephone was used, yes.
And that shouldn't have been done. That's the violation of
That shouldn't have
the
been
most
done.
basic rule of crime scene investigation, is it not?
However, in this case, the house did not appear or was not related to the crime scene. There was nothing to indicate that the suspect had ever entered or anything had ever occurred in that residence.
So your opinion today is the suspect in this case has never entered the Bundy residence.
Oh, no, I didn't say that at all. It didn't appear that any aspect of the crime had occurred within the residence itself.
When you start investigating a crime scene, you don't know what you're going to find, do you?
Absolutely not.
Therefore, everything is potential evidence, isn't it?
Yes.
And proper procedure would dictate following proper rules, would it not?
Yes.
And if there was evidence that may or may not have some value, what's the rule that you adhere to?
It would be protected, collected, and booked.
All right, when you walked through the crime scene, one of the first things you saw was a Ben and Jerry's ice cream cup and a plastic spoon. Correct?
One of the first things that was pointed out to me, yes.
And that was something that was reported in the notes of the previous homicide investigator that he took note of, correct?
Yes.
So obviously, in doing your detailed note analysis, that's something that he deemed important. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know whether he deemed it important. It was something that he noted.
Is a plastic spoon something that is capable of getting latent fingerprints off of?
I would think so, yes.
What about a paper cup?
Yes.
Is there any reason why those items would not be taken into evidence?
Yeah, they didn't appear to be connected to the crime scene from what I saw.
But you didn't know at that time, did you?
They didn't appear to be connected.
But as of today, it's become an issue in this case, hasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is there any reason, what effort would it have taken to take those items into evidence?
There would have been no effort if it was deemed necessary. They still, to this day, don't appear to have any connection to this case.
But you don't know that, do you?
Well, I think that's a fair assumption.
Could you determine perhaps who was eating that ice cream by finding fingerprints on the cup?
If they were there, yes.
Might that have some importance?
Well, I think it's been determined who was eating ice cream that night.
Might that have some importance is my question.
I still don't think it's connected to the crime scene. I don't see any importance to it.
So initially, upon walking into a crime scene, you see something that's potential evidence. You determine by yourself, as an experienced detective, it probably doesn't have anything to do with this, so we're just going to ignore it, throw it out. Is that what you're telling us?
I don't understand that. What do you mean? Are you speaking about a certain item? Or are you speaking about any crime scene?
No,
Or
I'm talking about this specific item.
about the ice cream?
Yeah, you saw it, you didn't think it was of evidentiary value, even though you have told us it could have a fingerprint on it, and therefore you simply ignored it and had it thrown away.
Objection.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
You immediately make decisions, don't you?
Not all the time.
You make them very quickly, don't you?
No, not all the time.
And you're not easy to change your opinion, are you?
No, that's not true. I am.
And if you had to do it all over again, you still wouldn't take that ice cream cup.
Gee, Monday morning quarterbacking is wonderful. I still, to this day, don't believe the ice cream is connected to the crime scene at Bundy.
Your Honor, may this be an appropriate time for a recess?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations without the matter being submitted to you. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you. We'll stand in recess until 1:30. And Detective Van Adder, you may step down. You're ordered to return at 1:30. Thank you, counsel.
What would they have done with the ice cream? How would they have connected it to anything?
So do you wish to, I suggest we wait for Ms. Clark. Tomorrow, but I'd like to put in at least an hour or so, get as much done as we can this afternoon. We're gonna go past the 3 o'clock hour.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Any other surprises? All right, Deputy Magnar, let's have the jurors, please. Members of our jury panel, Detective Van Adder, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good afternoon, Detective. You're reminded you're still under oath. Mr. Shapiro, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Detective Van Adder, over the noon hour, you were requested to find your notes of the activities that took place at Bundy and Rockingham on the 12th through the 13th of June. Have you been able to locate those notes?
I didn't realize I was supposed to do that, but as far as actual physical notes, there aren't any other than the partial statement I was doing on Cato Kalin.
And that consists of 2 paragraphs?
Approximately, yeah.
And that's the extent of what took place as far as recording information by you.
I directed other information be recorded, but yes, that's true.
Now, when you went through your walkthrough at the Bundy crime scene, you told us that took approximately 10 minutes.
Yeah, approximately 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes.
You testified 10 minutes on your direct examination yesterday. Are you more comfortable with 10 to 15 minutes?
That's an approximation, 10.
You weren't keeping any log records of the time you entered the actual scene and left?
No, sir.
Did you check in with somebody at the Bundy address who was keeping such time records?
When I arrived there,
When you arrived and everything, and when you walked through, yes.
I signed in on the crime scene log when I arrived, yes.
Would that be something that would be proper to maintain in the crime scene log, how long you spent inside the crime scene?
No.
How long did Detective Lang spend inside the crime scene in his walkthrough?
I believe it was about 15 minutes, approximately 15 minutes.
He was there a little longer than you?
Yes.
And you were not accompanying him at that time?
No, I did not.
You stayed outside on Bundy and Dorothy?
Yes.
And after he finished his walkthrough, did you then immediately go to Rockingham?
It was within a few minutes. We left there at approximately 5 o'clock that morning, yes.
So
We discussed it before we left.
he came out, you discussed it for a few minutes with him as to what he saw,
Yes,
and then the decision was made to go make the notification,
that's correct.
and you left immediately thereafter.
Yes,
Now, according to the logs, Detective Lang arrived at 4:25 in the morning.
that's correct.
And so if he did a 15-minute walkthrough, that would be about 4:40, correct?
If he immediately went on the walkthrough, I'm not sure that that was the sequence of events.
Well, how long did he wait before he went on the walkthrough that you recall?
I really couldn't answer that. I really don't know.
Weren't you concerned with trying to get this thing going and start your investigation?
That's what we did, yes.
So don't you now have about 20 minutes unaccounted for where nothing is being done while you and your partner are there?
I don't understand that.
Well, if Lang, according to the chronological record, arrived at 4:25, did a 15-minute walkthrough, spent a few minutes before and a few minutes after, let's say that would make it 4:45, and there's 15 minutes before you leave. Was there an investigation that you people were doing during that 15 minutes of Bundy?
I think part of the investigation is myself and my partner conversing, so we know what we have, and so we sort of understand what's going on at that point.
And I take it you notified a criminalist at that point because you now had determined it was a bloody crime scene, did you not?
Not at that point, no.
And you notified the coroner because you wanted to clearly ascertain the time of death.
Not at that point.
And you called for a photographer to videotape the entire crime scene in the most undisturbed way, did you not?
A photographer was there when I got there.
And did you direct the photographer to take an overall view of the complete pattern of all the footwear impressions that you had seen?
I believe my partner did that.
And was that done?
Was that done?
Yeah, the photographer do that? Follow those orders?
To the best of my knowledge,
And
yes.
so you have seen a photograph that shows the entire pathway with all the footprints that you intend to talk about in this case?
I believe it does, yes.
And did you call for someone to videotape the entire crime scene?
No, sir, I did not.
And did you call for a light truck to illuminate the area so that you could better ascertain whether or not there might be another matching glove to the one that you had seen by the body of Ronald Goldman?
I did not.
And did you cause a grid search to be done of the location to look for a matching or second glove at that location?
No, I didn't.
As a detective, would you agree that it is important for you to be able to prioritize what you're going to do regarding a crime scene investigation?
Yes.
Some things are more important than others. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're all important. That's a general statement. Everything's important.
But you can't do everything at the same time, can you?
No, I wish I could.
So therefore, you have to prioritize, don't you?
According to what the scene is, yes. Each one is different. Each one has different priorities.
And if you had to prioritize between notifying the ex-husband of a victim and beginning a crime scene investigation, what one of the two would you feel would be more important?
Putting it just in those terms with the other circumstances left out, I would say start the crime scene investigation, but there were other circumstances that came into play in this.
And how many officers would you use to make a death notification personally?
That would depend on the circumstances.
And is there any criteria as to who can make a death notification within the Los Angeles Police Department?
As to who?
Yes.
I would think any sworn personnel could.
Now, Commander Bushy is the commander of the West Bureau. Is that correct?
He's the assistant commander, I believe, of West Bureau.
And West Bureau does not encompass the robbery homicide division, does it not? Does it?
No,
It does not, I should say.
it does not.
And that order that you heard about secondhand was from Detective Phillips, who was told by Commander Bushy that he should make a personal notification. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And during the hour and 5 minutes that Detective Phillips was waiting for you, did you ask him if he had gone to make a personal notification?
He told me that he hadn't.
Did you ask him why he didn't? Why he was just deciding to stand out in the middle of the street for an hour and 5 minutes?
No.
Isn't that something that could have easily have been done by Detective Phillips, to your knowledge?
That could have been done, but that would not be the proper way to do it without us being present.
And what about Detective Furman? Could he have gone with Detective Phillips to make a death notification?
Of course he could have, but it still wouldn't have been the proper way without us being there.
Well, what about Lieutenant Rogers, who was your supervisor? Could he have gone?
Certainly.
He's not a homicide investigator, is he?
No, he's a supervisor.
He's not an investigator, is he?
He's a lieutenant.
Is he an investigator? Is
By rank or
it his job to investigate homicide scenes?
No, it's his job to supervise.
So he from your bureau could have gone and made the notification.
Certainly.
And the 25 other people that were there could have gone to make the notification.
That's correct.
And as far as directions to that location, once you were at Bundy, would you have any difficulty if somebody there said the location that you want to go to is at Rockingham and Sunset, take Sunset about 2 miles and turn right on Rockingham, 3 blocks? Would you be able to follow those directions?
Me personally?
Yes.
Yes.
So you didn't need anybody to take you to that location, did you?
Well, yeah, because we didn't know where the location was and we thought it would speed up the process. Plus, we needed their assistance,
But let's
as
talk
I had
about
explained before.
just where the location was. You've already conceded that if somebody told you to go west on Sunset to Rockingham and turn right, go up 3 blocks, you would have been able to follow that and find that, would you not?
Certainly I could have.
And it's not a difficult location to find, is it?
No,
Not hidden in any way?
no.
And at the time you arrived, you had for the first time met Detectives Phillips and Furman. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you were there to notify them that, or to officially take over because they had been notified they'd been relieved.
That's correct.
And in police practice, I take it that this is a big case. Would you agree with that?
That's a very subjective term. It's a big case because the press and the media has made it a big case. All homicides are, to me, are big cases.
And that to be involved in a case like this from a detective's point of view is a feather in your cap, is it not?
Not in my cap, no.
And
No.
to be relieved from a case like this would be a tremendous disappointment for a young detective, would it not?
Objection.
Sustained.
You've also told us that you went over, did anybody tell you you should go to Rockingham to check on the welfare of the children?
That question, I don't follow that question. The children's welfare was not, the children were at West LA Station.
Did anybody tell you to go to Rockingham because the children's welfare was at issue?
No, that was a determination that myself and my partner made.
And so you determined with all the officers in the juvenile division, all the officers at West Los Angeles, all the members available to take care of juveniles, you were going to take it upon yourself to prioritize and put that interest first. Is that your testimony?
That was one of my priorities, absolutely.
You're not a juvenile officer.
No, but I think we went through this once before. I had 2 very young children that had been taken from their bed, from their home, by uniformed police officers at a scene that their mother had been murdered at. And that's very, very traumatic for adults, besides thinking about minor children. To me, these children are very, very important people, and they have to be cared for. And to be sitting in a police station is a very traumatic thing for children. And that was very important to me to try and get them with family members.
And I agree with you. But in balancing that against the 25 other officers who were at the scene who could have performed the same function, and you being the only person who could admit people into the crime scene, is it your opinion that others could have equally satisfied the requirement of taking care of these young children who are in such desperate need of being reunited.
What, I'm sort of lost on the question. Could someone else have done what I did?
Regarding the children,
Certainly someone else could have.
yes, no one else other than Lang and yourself could have allowed access into the crime scene.
At that point, I would say no.
But yet you chose to leave the crime scene, not only with yourself and with your partner, but with the only two other investigators in the homicide area who could have also had some seasoning regarding the entry and exit into a crime scene. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the scene is left now not to be investigated at all, with the four people who have expertise in homicide investigations. So you can go do two things: notify the ex-spouse of the death and to provide in West LA for the care and comfort of the two young children.
Objection.
Sustained.
Your purpose in taking four officers to go to the Rockingham estate was solely for the notification. Is that correct?
Our purpose for taking four officers was actually twofold. Number one, they could direct us to the location because Furman had been there before. And number two, we intended on them helping us with the notification, helping Mr. Simpson to make a disposition of the children, for us to meet Mr. Simpson for a later interview.
Well, this wouldn't be a good time to establish a rapport with Mr. Simpson, would it?
It's as good a time as any time.
So you're going to knock on the door, tell Mr. Simpson you have horrible news, that his ex-wife has just been murdered, and plus we'd like to get to know you and talk about this, so let's just sit down and talk for a while. Is that what you're telling us, sir?
No, we didn't intend to interview him then. We intended to meet him, go back, do the crime scene, and set up a later interview with him.
Well, you had additional information regarding Mr. Simpson when you went over there, didn't you?
I had information, Detective Furman told us that he had been at the location before on a 415 dispute call, yes.
And he told you that resulted. Did he also tell you that there had been previous incidents of domestic violence regarding OJ Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson?
He didn't tell me that, no. He told me he had been there on a previous incident.
Did he tell your partner there had been previous incidents of domestic violence?
Objection. Calls for hearing.
Oh,
There could have been some conversation about an 89 incident. What I recall most is he stated that he had been there on a previous radio call and knew where the location was, and that the radio call was in regards to a 415 family dispute.
you have reviewed the report that's entitled a follow-up report, have you not?
Yes,
And that's really a misnomer because it doesn't follow up to any other report that was done by your Detective Lang, does it?
a misnomer.
No. When it says follow-up report, doesn't that tend to cause one to think that there was a report before this, that this follows?
Well, there was a report before that.
Done by you and Lang?
Yes.
At the preliminary hearing, you were asked that question. You said there wasn't. Do you recall that testimony?
No, I don't recall saying that, no.
We'll show that to you in a minute. So you're telling me now that it was Furman who gave you the information regarding the domestic violence. Is that correct? Or Lang?
It was a conversation that was had in the street, and I believe all four of us was there. And as I recall, Furman said something to Phillips, and I'm not sure whether it was Furman or Phillips that relayed the information. My information was that Furman had been there earlier.
Do you have any information that Mr. Simpson had previously been arrested? or just that they responded to a 415?
Well, I think my information is Mr. Simpson was never arrested on that case. I think that's the information.
And isn't it true, sir, that one of the reasons that you wanted to leave the crime scene and go to the Simpson residence was because you had information that there had been previous instances of domestic violence, and you immediately suspected the ex-husband as being the person responsible in these cases?
No, that's not true.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Actually, let me put this up on the Elmo. We've already talked about this. Page 880. I just have a, I thought we put this up earlier.
Is this the last sentence?
No, this is on another report.
All right, I don't believe we took that up specifically.
All right, let me approach it another way. If he objects to this, let me ask you this. You have read the murder follow-up report, have you not?
Yes.
And are there any errors or omissions in that report?
Errors and omissions. I'm comfortable with the report if that's what you're asking me.
And you stand by that report, do you not?
Well, I think it's a general overall view of what occurred. Yes.
What's more than that, it's the only recordation that you and your partner have done regarding this case. Isn't that correct?
No.
You'll show us later what other recordations you and your partner have done.
Well, I think I testified earlier that there's been death reports made on both victims and murder reports made on both victims.
I'm talking about the facts surrounding the investigation and the information you had. Are there any other reports along those areas that were done by you or your partner, sir?
Well, there's been reports done through the entire investigation. There's 3 books full of reports.
Well, you'll pull those for us, okay, the ones that you and your partner have done.
Is that a question?
Would you do that for us, please? That's a request. Not now.
There's 3 books of reports.
Well, maybe you can do that tonight. Let me draw your attention to the second paragraph and ask you to.
No, asshole, I'm not doing that tonight. You do it. I submitted it.
Okay. Did you have a chance to read that?
Yes.
And does that refresh your memory as what Detective Phillips told you and Detective Lang?
I'm 100% sure my ex-husband didn't make me swear this much. I'm 100% sure.
Possibility that he said that, yes. But again, my information is Mr. Simpson was never arrested on that case.
Well, maybe
What does your
towards the
report
end.
indicate in that regard, sir?
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. The entire paragraph?
Well, let's read the part of what Detective Phillips told you.
Phillips stated that victim Brown was the ex-wife of OJ Simpson, a well-known athlete actor. Additionally, Phillips stated that Mr. Simpson and victim 1 had been embroiled in a previous domestic violence situation, one of these resulting in the arrest of Mr. Simpson.
You said in a previous domestic violence situation. Is that what it says, sir?
That's what the report says, yes.
It doesn't say in previous domestic violence situations, plural?
Situations, yeah.
Is there a difference between situation and situation, sir?
One is plural and one is singular, yes.
Is there any significance to that in putting that in a report?
Significance? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Apparently, that's referring to more than one incident.
Now, the location that you were going to was Rockingham, is that correct? 360 North Rockingham from Bundy?
From Bundy, yes.
And you came down Rockingham as you've shown us in that nice video that you prepared. Is that correct?
What's the question?
You came down Rockingham when you were going to the house. When you were trying to locate the address of 360 North Rockingham.
We drove north on Rockingham, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
That was my question.
I
I'm
didn't.
sorry.
I didn't understand your question.
You guys have to stop talking over each other here.
I want to make it clear. And when you drove up, you saw a gate and an address, 360 North Rockingham, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Why didn't you park on Rockingham?
I don't know. I followed Detective Phillips and parked behind him.
If you were looking
no
for
reason.
I'm sorry. Did you finish?
No reason.
Clearly, there was an entrance on Rockingham,
Yes.
and clearly the front door faced Rockingham.
Well, I don't think I could tell that as I drove up the street. I couldn't see the front door.
You could see the front door through the gate, couldn't you?
And when I walked over and looked, yes. But when I was driving up, I didn't see it.
Isn't it true, sir, that you were going over to Rockingham in addition to making what you have said is a notification to look for criminal activity?
I think it crossed my mind, not criminal activity. I think it crossed my mind to check on the welfare because of the closeness of the scene and the violence of the scene.
The welfare of whom?
The welfare of the occupants of the home, since there was a tie to the two locations.
And who did you determine were the occupants of the home?
Which home, sir?
The home you were going to check on the welfare of the occupants in.
Mr. Simpson's home.
Well, who were the occupants of that home that you went to check on?
At that point,
Yeah.
anybody that was there.
Well, didn't you have something fixed in your mind when you say you were going to check on the welfare of somebody? Whose welfare were you going to check on, sir?
Mr. Simpson.
Because you were concerned about him, weren't you?
I wasn't so much concerned about him. I had concerns for the children. I wanted to meet him. I was informed that a commander of the police department had ordered a in-person notification. And I knew it was going to be a very newsworthy case. And I thought it best that we make a notification before the press did.
Have you memorized that response? It's about the third time you've given it to us.
Sustained. Curious to disregard.
Yeah, that's the fourth time you asked the damn question. It's the same answer. You keep asking the same questions, and you're going to get the same answers every time. He's not going to change his answer. And your comments, sir, need to stop. You are a lawyer.
That last.
Is that the verbatim response you gave at the preliminary hearing?
I don't know.
Sustained.
Okay, we're going to end it there today. And see if maybe tomorrow he'll give a different answer to the same freaking question. Right? Right? All right. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. We are getting there. We are this much closer to Cato. Probably, little. Probably. Martha. All right, Carlos. You hold down the fort, Carlos. Until tomorrow. Wait, I don't know what today is, but until I stream next. Bye, guys. Behave, okay? Have a happy Father's Day to all the daddies out there. Bye.